Hey there, Hider Holder. Hello there, my name's Adam.
My name's Randers.
And this?
It's Kaputy 8.
Alright, today's adventure, we're going to be looking at a 1965 Dodge Coronet A990 Package, super rare car. We've got some experts on the situation, on the subject, and they're just going to go over it with us. I think it's a pretty cool thing, so let's get kicking.
This car's got a neat history. Car sold new in an N65. There's a couple of magazine publications of this car when it was brand new at the dealership, which is pretty much unheard of. This car spent several years in the Walter P. Chrysler Museum on display. It was raced, naturally. They were all raced. This particular car actually won class at Indy in 1967.
Super shiny. I mean, it would have never been
Right, this has been
so
restored, you
gorgeous.
said?
Yeah.
You think this is just a one restoration on this car? You guys think?
Yeah. Because all these things were raced extensively and turned into big tire drag cars, more or less.
Sure.
Okay, so when it comes to basic identifiers on 65 A990, one of the items you'll have is a trim tag, which is affixed to the inner fender. You'll have an engine code, which tells you it's going to be a Hemi in it, and also a code for the transmission. And then you have some digits here at the first line here on the very bottom, and that's a sequence number. And that sequence number will be up here on the core support, stamped in the core support.
Okay.
It's behind that rubber right there.
Okay.
And then it will be in the back window, hidden underneath the back window. The window tray is in the door jamb. And again, with a Superstock car, it's going to start out, if it's a Dodge, WO. If it was a Plymouth, it'd be an RO.
Okay.
But all the cars are pretty well accounted for, and
Today I'm here with Adam. What's your name?
Engelhart.
And what are we looking at today, Andy? We're looking at the car with him, so we're going to go over some cool features. So let's start with the part everybody wants to know, the engine.
12.5 to 1, solid lifter camshaft, magnesium intake, batteries in the trunk.
Yep.
All
Where would the battery not box?
it would typically have been in this area here.
Okay.
Battery in the trunk, and then, matter of fact, you can see here, there's a terminal there for where the battery cable comes from the trunk all the way up to the front.
Yep.
And then it splits off there and goes to the starter naturally, and then back into the trunk.
And then, so I'm pretty impressed here by the brakes. Is that standard equipment, or could you get a dual platinum?
No, you could not.
So that would be
You think
standard
about
product.
it, 130 mile an hour,
Right.
one master cylinder, and all it takes is one wheel cylinder to come apart and you had nothing.
Yep.
Things that are unique to these cars is because of the size of the engine,
Yep.
they had to modify the inner shock tower, and that is specific to 64 or 65 race Hemi.
Okay.
And otherwise you couldn't, because
couldn't bolt the engine in.
It's to clear the valve cover so you can adjust the valve and stuff like
Sure.
that. So they gave you a little bit more room. Okay. There's a variety of identifiers if you're looking to verify one of these cars, and one of the items is that Chrysler, when they did these cars back in the day, it was pretty crude, but the opening, they actually cut that with a torch.
Okay. Yeah,
And
you can see almost a little slag in a
it
few
was.
parts.
But keep in mind, they were building race cars.
All right, so here's the factory air cleaner for it, and you can see that for the dual quads. But they were also saying it would come with velocity stacks. Is that right, Fred?
Correct. Velocity stacks and this hood seal
Yep.
would come in the trunk of the car.
Okay. So
And
you
that's
can-
why that big air cleaner frequently got pitched. These are race cars, so people would get their car. Who needs an air cleaner? We're going drag racing, and they would put the two velocity stacks on and the hood seal on, and that was kind of the end of the air cleaner, and that's why the air cleaner today is $3,500.
You can kind of show that sticker, which is unique.
Well, I can't really pick it up here, but
It's pretty much saying the car has no warranty.
I'll read it here. The car is equipped with a 426 cubic engine and other special equipment. This car is intended for use in supervised acceleration trials and is not intended for highway or general passenger car use. Accordingly, this car is sold as is, and the 12-month or 12,000-mile vehicle warranty coverage and 5-year or 50,000-mile powertrain warranty coverage does not apply to this vehicle.
So the lightweight, what I consider lightweight components of these cars is, and they consist of half thickness metal, is the hood scoop, the hood itself, the fenders, and the doors, and the front bumper, and the core support was thin. The front bumper again is half thickness.
I don't know if the camera picks up that sound. Yeah, it sounds like a Fender at best.
Yeah, that is half thickness. Another thing that's unique about the 65 is that every street version of these cars would have been dual headlight.
Yep.
And on the 65 A990 car, they were single. They were converted to single headlight.
I had picked this up earlier. You
Yeah.
can kind of see the differentiation in the grill here
Sure.
where they added a
Yeah,
piece
because
here.
in
or
essence,
whatever.
they didn't make a special part for that. They just
Yeah.
cut another grill up in order to do it.
Right.
Again, if you're going to be, picky about these cars, when those cars are done in 65, they use steel rivets to do that.
Okay.
In addition, all in an effort to save weight, in addition, they came with aluminum upper and lower door hinge on both sides in lieu of standard would have been a steel hinge.
Okay.
So they came with aluminum hinges, no seat tracks other than a fabricated aluminum seat track.
No outer door sills.
Yeah, even to the point of no outer door sills. I mean, you think about the little tiny bit of weight that was saved, but it was part of the package. They did not put that kick seal in there.
And you can see that they still had the holes drilled.
They had the holes, but if you look at the car, again, if someone's building one and if they don't know, as soon as you stick a screw in that hole, then it comes into question,
Right.
what do we really got here? Especially this hole here, because you know what, you can put a screw in there and probably miss it, but you try and put a screw in that elongated hole and then try and fix it after, pretty difficult. So it's just, again, one of the kind of the identifiers on these cars. The risers, because the front door glass will go up and down, the risers are actually aluminum inside the door versus steel.
Okay.
Which again, I mean, if you really know these cars, I guess you're aware of it, but most people aren't aware of it. And
if you look at the glass, you get a good shot of that.
yeah, so
Look
yeah,
at how thin that
because again,
is.
if you're talking about weight savings, the glass is less.
You got a penny? Or you got a
No,
dime?
but it's less than half thickness.
Yeah, it's around 90. If I recall correctly, somewhere around 90 thousandths thick.
Sure.
But and it's thin enough where it was still tempered, so it didn't break easily.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll break naturally like any glass will, but it's
That's to give you an idea of the thickness of the glass. That's your standard U.S. penny. Honestly, in person, it's hard. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it is thin. Like you almost you can't believe how thin it is.
That is actual glass.
And that is actual glass.
so you got 4 pieces of this really thin glass. The corner windows are fixed, so there's no regulators, no nothing there.
Yep.
And again, just to save weight. And then the back window, again, is that real thin glass.
Yep.
And if you look at it, it would appear that it's curved, but in fact, and it is curved, but in fact, if you take it out and lay it on a table, it's flat.
Wow.
So if you ever have to replace one, you tend to cringe a little bit, thinking that thin piece of glass has to make that bend
Yeah.
in order to fit into that.
And then Adam was explaining to me they come with a double seal.
Yeah,
Is
there's
that what it is?
a piece of rubber in there in the channel to make up the difference.
Yeah, because the window's so thin. Yeah.
To make up the difference.
Yeah.
And they had no backup light, so they have a backup light, a little delete plate,
Stamped in steel.
little
Okay.
delete plate there. Moving beyond weight savings, the other thing is Just like having the, all of the lightweight sheet metal to the front of the car, battery to the back of the car, and then they put this huge commercial battery as far back as they could, again, just to get weight in the back
Weight
of the car.
transfer, sure.
Weight transfer.
And they run a standard deck lid, right? They didn't lighten up the deck lid.
No, absolutely not. No, they weren't trying to take weight out of the back of the car.
The battery hold downs specifically for the cable would be like a super rare factory part as
It
well, right?
is
Yeah.
those tabs that go across. There's actually 3 of them.
Okay.
And that's, they should be there on a Superstock car. And even like the battery bracket is specific. It's got like a little rubber coating on it, and then you have a steel battery tray, and then you have this little insulator that protects it from corrosion.
Okay.
But again, that's a factory piece.
Do you think this is the original battery?
No, but the bracket itself
The bracketry, yeah.
could very well be. The battery, it's a replacement battery. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. A990 Dodges, what they did is they actually used a Plymouth front spring hanger, which shortened that wheelbase up.
Okay.
And that's what slid that wheel forward in the opening.
Okay.
And they were successful in getting all of the sanctioning bodies to buy into the fact that that's stock.
Factory part,
That's
yeah.
a factory part.
Yeah.
And in fact it was, but they just robbed it off of Plymouth.
Yeah.
And that's why there are those who will argue when it comes to factory superstock cars that they will argue that the Dodge 65 was really a super well engineered factory drag car. Some will argue it was the best designed of all.
Where'd the dome light go?
Dome light, these cars didn't have a dome light. These were race cars.
What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Does that seat stay still, or will the back move, Andy? Oh, how far forward can it tip? Well, how's that different than a normal van seat, you suppose?
Normal
Ours can only go back. Theirs can only go front.
On our new minivan?
Yeah, ours can go back and forth.
Oh, okay.
And theirs can only go front.
Oh, so which ones do you like better?
This one.
I do too.
She made a very good point for a young lady there, because that seat frequently is referred to as a van seat. And because Chrysler had vans in that time period, and it's reminiscent of a van seat. But the van seat does not fold like that. And the truth of the matter is that seat frame is absolutely specific to a 65 A990 car. Upholstery's a little different from 64 through 68, but that frame is super stock specific, not a van. So to prefer to catch that, I think that's pretty neat.
Let's talk about the differences between a van seat and a lightweight drag car seat.
The difference is, and commonly people refer to it as a van seat. The difference is in a van, those seats are designed to be attached at the rear of the seat and at the front of the seat. So the frame structure is different in the base of the seat, all right? So on a Superstock car, the brackets run down the side. And in order to run down the side, again, it's different framework in the seat, and it actually has retained weld nuts that your seat brackets bolt to. Not that you can't modify a van seat, you can, but they're absolutely not van seats.
Do they use maybe the same cushions, foam and
That
stuff?
stuff is very similar.
Yep.
The foam itself is very similar. The outward appearance is very similar. The key being is that if you think that you're just going to go ahead and get and not that it can't be done. You can get a set of van seats and make up brackets and get it to fit, but the Chrysler Superstock seat base is strictly in the Superstock car. It did not come in a van, it did not come in a pickup.
It has to be slightly
Yeah,
different to
yeah.
accommodate the articulation of the tip too.
Yes, because typically most of the van seats don't, the backs doesn't tip. Typically in a van, what happens is that if you need to get behind the seat, or like a little A100 pickup, you want to get behind the seat, what that does is because they're latched back and front, the whole seat tips.
Oh, okay.
The whole seat tips, not just the seat back.
All right, Andy, let's see how that shifter works.
And this one?
Yep, pull down. Yep, now pull down again, and it stops. Now you gotta pull it towards you and down. There you go. You could have been a race car driver. Is there anything missing from that, Andy?
No park in the tranny.
In the park, there's no park indicator, and the transmission doesn't have park at all.
It goes 0, 10, 20, 30.
What's the
40,
highest number?
1200.
120?
120.
Very good.
Reverse manual valve body.
Reverse manual valve body it's got. And the windows go up and down. Well, this looks like a real functioning car, don't it, Andy?
Yeah, and I don't know what these buttons are.
What does this button over here do, you suppose? I think one's probably for the headlights. Yeah?
Yep.
And what's the other one for?
I don't know.
Wiper.
The wipers, the windshield wiper motor.
Now note that there's only one windshield wiper.
Okay. And if you note,
And again, just as, just as an effort to lighten up the car.
Plates, if you look down here, like a plate blocking the defrost,
yep.
which could have been in other things, I guess, but all the Hemi cars had that. No radio at all.
Where's the radio, sweetie?
Radio delete in a 65 Hemi car. Right there.
It doesn't have one. Can you point where the radio should be? So, what's, as far as the upholstery stuff, what were you saying about that, Adam?
Well, it's all light. No back seat, obviously, with a cardboard panel instead of a seat. And then all the interior, all the carpet has no sound deadening or insulation, like jute backing.
Jute backing, yes.
To be light, if you shoot up there and look, yeah, it's a specific headliner to a 65 Hemi car too. Not specific in fabric, but specific in pattern. And no dome light.
No, and then
Hemi car only.
to emphasize on the dome light, it isn't a case of they just removed the dome light. There is no structure in the roof to support the dome. And again, it was just something to reduce weight.
Yeah.
You know?
When I had a blower motor in a Hemi car, race car.
So the same sticker that was on the air cleaner is in the glove box here, and that's where it's supposed to be.
And that's the original one.
Yep. Never been touched. In the dash in this is steel?
Steel dash.
Steel dash.
Chrysler did build a handful of aluminum dashes.
Like 10.
Very, very few. Came in a handful of 64 cars and a couple of 65 cars.
All right, so the oil pan has this flat spot in it, which is a specific 65 Hemis specific, has a flat spot in it. You can see this pretty wild exhaust system they have going on here. It has a cast flange. So off the motor is cast, and then they weld the tubes into the cast. And you can see it's 4 tubes come into this single collector here.
All mandrel bends.
All mandrel bent, and it's got a cap on each side. Keeps coming down the same on this side. Then it Ys into a single exhaust. Keep coming, baby. We follow the single exhaust, goes all the way out to a single muffler. And the reason for that is you had to have it. That had to be a factory like homologation rule. But if you turn around, what everybody did was they just took these caps off and they just let her eat. You've got a cast iron snubber on top here where that would normally have been stamped steel. You got another snubber there, and an identifying thing there is the spacing on the bolts for the snubber, and they would have had a welded in nut on the back side of the frame rail. That's not something you find on every car. That's specific to the A990 car. And we can get a look here at the front spring hanger, which was a Plymouth piece, you said, Fred?
Yeah.
Which they used the Plymouth piece on this car or whatever to shorten the wheelbase just slightly. Lighter bumper brackets.
Yeah, well, that's lighter than
Yeah, we can get a real look. Hey, grab that light. Kind of give you an idea how thin the bumper is. There you go. That's like, I don't even know if that's the thickness of a quarter.
Yeah. Very, very, almost cut you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And this piece is lightweight again, specific, 6040 would have aluminum bumper brackets.
You can see up there the cast flange where the pipe gets welded into it.
This is aluminum oil pump. It's painted, but
Painted but aluminum oil pump.
65 only.
And then another thing with the 65s is that because you had Hemi motor, which is extra weight compared to like a 383 or whatever, the combination of the heavy motor and rise and fall of suspension when you're racing it, this item here is a piece that Chrysler put in there. Now, this top piece is just a standard thing, but that little box below there, that is to keep things from bottoming out.
Okay.
They added that in there because otherwise it would have bottomed. It was just to keep that ride height a little bit higher if it bottomed out, so you weren't
Smashing your exhaust,
Yeah.
killing the
Oil pan.
oil pan.
Yep,
yeah.
yep. And it's one of those things to look at again. A lot of clone cars out there. The number of people that go to the effort of putting that in there. Some guys do. My argument would be if you do it everything like you're supposed to, you can probably buy a real car for about the same money. So why not?
Right, why not?
You could have actually, this is Hemi K-frame, but you could have actually got, in 65, they made these short number out of stainless steel,
Yeah?
and then they made even less out of magnesium.
Okay.
Which,
So this is an automatic car, obviously, and
This
it's,
is an automatic car, so reverse manual valve body, park delete.
it's got a Hemi specific case on it,
Yep.
and then the rear end, that's an 8 3/4.
8 3/4, 456 short grip. Specific leaf springs, again, because the leaf springs were part of the package to get the correct bias in the leaf springs to get the car to leave the starting line. Kind of typical of a party, kind of more leaves on one side than the other.
Okay.
In different segments, and these.
Well, that's going to wrap up our tour here at Engelhart Performance. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe, tell me about it. If you got a bad thing to say about Fred, you can kiss my ass. Have a good one.
Bye.